Hi, welcome back to Teen Tarot episode 5.
Yay!
Today we are talking about the Chariot card and strength. But before we dive in, as always, let's introduce our tea. So I'm a little bit under the weather. So I'm drinking my daily defense again, turmeric, ginger, lavender, mint kind of mix on. So it's very tasty. What about you?
That sounds delicious. Did you make that blend?
No, it's that
bougie tea store. I need a bougie tea store.
I love it.
Well, I am drinking honey lavender stress relief. Not that I feel stressed, but who doesn't want some stress relief? It's the brand Yogi, and I love them because they have these little messages that I'm going to read in a sec. But this one has it's the Serenity blend, and it's got a lot. It has rooibos. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Chamomile, lemon balm, which is also chamomile and lemon balm are really calming.
Yeah.
Lemongrass, spearmint, peppermint, lavender, sage. So it's just a good party pack.
That too. Yeah.
I drink this at night sometimes, and I swear it does kind of put me to bed. So yeah, it's super soothing. And the message of the day is you are unlimited.
Duh.
I love it. I love it.
That's beautiful.
Okay, so we're talking about the Chariot first today.
Been using the traditional Rider Waite, and I have a new deck that I want to share.
You?
Yeah, so it's the Modern Witch Tarot. I've been featuring it on our Instagram with some of our readings. Whoop. And I just love it. It's so modern, and the characters in the cards are so diverse. It's very clean, and I just love it. I can't remember who designed it, but yeah, I really like this deck a lot. So Modern Witch Tarot.
I'll put it on the screen too. Let me see it again.
Yeah, so this is the Chariot.
I love how it's on a vehicle, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Like
on
literally a vehicle. Yeah.
Kind of.
Wow, so it incorporates kind of like the traditional with those Egyptian things. Sphinx. Yes, I'm clearly don't know my Egyptian history, but yeah, I like how it kind of incorporates that, but then literally that modern flair.
Yeah, brings it into the current century.
Well, I have the Gilded. You know me. There we go.
Oh yeah, I like it.
So, what comes to mind when you think of the Chariot? Like, what are some keywords for you?
Okay. So, I'm gonna leave some of the more practical, applicable keywords to you because that's your strength. And for me, the Chariot is a card. So, okay, the Hierophant, we have the Crossroads, the Lovers, some, imbalances, discord, trying to like move through the chaos sort of thing. So here we are, number 7. Okay, it seems like the storm has calmed a little bit. There's some internal retrospection. With the 7s, they all tend to be more about internal reflection. And the Chariot, right? The Chariot, we think like movement, but in all of the decks or cards that I've ever seen, the Chariot isn't actually moving. And the Sphinx are not moving, right? And so like we're not in that action phase yet. Right now we're building, we're planning, we're getting ready, revving up. This is why I kind of like the motorcycle imagery.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
We're getting this started, but we're figuring out the roadmap first. Where are we going? How are we going to do this? So It's a card about internal reflection and like getting really clear on the next steps.
I like it. And yeah, 7s, can be a little challenging, right? We've talked about that in a few of our podcasts. And you mentioned something interesting, that the Chariot's never moving.
Yeah.
In your cards. Now, I've seen some that are, and so the way, mine's not. And it looks pretty like, and I'll put both the cards on the screen for the people who are watching on YouTube. But I recommend people who are learning tarot to look at what your Chariot is doing, because there is a deck, I don't know which one it is, where Chariot, the person's struggling to kind of keep this in control, and that can be really indicative of what the energy is trying to tell you. But some keywords that I wrote down for the Chariot are, first of all, when we look at the Chariot, it's associated with the zodiac sign Cancer, and is emotional. So we can often think of, mastering emotions, but mastery, self-mastery, willpower, determination, overcoming obstacles. It's balancing the masculine and the feminine, because you can see with the two Sphinx, is that what Sphinx plural? Okay. They're each representing the masculine, the divine masculine, and the divine feminine. And so often what we struggle with, most of us, that we don't realize when we're struggling with something, is we're probably too much into one, and we have to bring them together and balance them to achieve this goal, overcome this hurdle, whatever the challenge is. It's a very ambitious energy, I would say, and it can literally talk about travel. So movement, or literally a vehicle, like a car, or like going on a road trip, right? Like a short distance travel, I guess. And I want to say almost like about like control. Because again, you have to control the masculine and the feminine. Sometimes they're horses. I've seen horses in cards, so it really depends on the card.
You were talking about like the mastery. That is definitely a self-mastery, really. And with the sevens, they are definitely more internal rather than about the external world. And so being able to flex and go with the flow between the two tensions and work together, that to me is that self-mastery, having that more increased awareness and insight into what works for this situation and how that might need to change for another situation, not being rigid, I feel like.
Yeah, and that internal energy, that really matches like the emotion in the card, right? The emotional energy, because that's an internal thing. In terms of like specific like readings, this is usually about needing to overcome an obstacle, but that you can't, right? But it's up to you. So I'll often tell someone, if it comes up in like, again, context is everything, but if it comes up in like an advice position, that you got this if you want it, right? But you're going to have to put some determined effort into that and master yourself to achieve this. In terms of love, I feel like in a love reading, it depends on, whether you read upright and reverse, and we'll talk about the reversal in a minute, but it can sometimes talk about like a challenging relationship. It can be like, I've sometimes seen it show up from like competitive relationships, but it doesn't have to be bad. And so that's when you'd want to look to like surrounding cards. Is this someone who motivates you to do better, challenges you to be a better version, or are you just in power struggle? So I can see it. I've seen it in that before, like healthy competition. What would you say? I think we're probably in agreement with the lesson is like self-mastery. Okay.
Like, okay, so are we asking about the karmic lesson here?
Like how would you like describe that to someone who like was like, I don't know what this means for my lesson?
So definitely increase self-awareness, endurance.
Okay.
Right? Like when we act on impulse, a lot of times, like with the lovers, it's that instant self-gratification. Endurance requires patience. And so to be able to increase that self-awareness, you have to objectively step back, take stock of a situation. So for me, it's just the karmic lesson here is, before you can move forward, it's good to take stock of your emotional state. Like, why are you doing this?
Totally. Yeah. And just to add on to that, I would also say to someone, if this comes up to you in like a daily advice position or something, I would ask yourself, like, are you leaning into your masculine more or your feminine? Like, what needs to come back into balance? And again, just look at like the symbolism on the card is going to speak volumes, right? Are the Sphinx out of control? Is the person struggling to maintain their chariot? Are their horses going wild? Like, what does the card look like? Because like in my deck, it might be very different from, you know, that other deck I was referring to, where the chariot looked like the person was struggling to maintain that chariot.
I also think this is indicative that now is the time to leave like the immature issues of the past. Like in my card, and I do remember in the traditional rider Waite, there's kind of like in this one, there's a city behind it.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And I feel like in the traditional one, there's like a couple of buildings in the background too, which again makes me think, okay, all the lessons that we need to have learned or all the experiences that we've had, thank you so much, but time to move forward, say goodbye, and go on to the next step of the journey. So
totally.
Just leaving out of the city, right? You know, just checking your roadmap and saying, okay, where are we going? How are we going to get there?
And like metaphorical movement as well as maybe physical movement too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I've also heard too with the chariot that it can be it's a very like individual energy, right? Like in the lovers, we have 2 or 3 people, maybe 2 or 3 options. This is all about you. This isn't about anyone else. It's just about you, your emotions, your own self-mastery. Do you agree?
Yeah, I could see that. So if it was to come up in a reading, like a love reading or something like that, or even like a career reading, I guess my question for you is how would you interpret that if the focus is on the self?
Well, I'll try to think of some examples. So it has shown up in love readings in reverse, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I've seen it upright for power struggles in relationships. And I know in partnership, we often want the other person to change, right? But often it's us that needs to change first, and then that person will mirror that change. And so it's always an inside job, even if the other person is acting out. Like your job isn't to fix them or change them. How are you contributing to this dynamic and these power struggles? And what do you need to focus on, like your side of the road?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So reverse meetings. Oh, yeah. Okay. So reverse meetings. Stagnation.
Yep. That's a good word.
Resistance, stubbornness. I just see, like, I literally can visualize wheels stuck in the mud kind of thing. Like there's just no movement. Ego is way too involved.
Yep. Agreed. 100% agreed. I like those words. Stagnation's a good one. So self-defeat, lack of control, refusing to accept responsibility, unhealthy competition was another one I've seen, control, power issues, destructive behavior. So this is, like, I learned this from the Roberta Lee Language of Tarot book, that she actually always suggests to make sure that there's no addictions when you see the chariot in reverse, because think about it, lack of self-control can get into addictive behaviors. And so sometimes it can be a bad habit. It doesn't have to be like an addiction per se. But in reverse, I've seen it for like a very abusive relationship, especially if it's paired with like the King of Swords in reverse, like we're talking verbal. So again, depending on how you read, but I have seen it come up for someone who was with someone who was quite verbally aggressive.
Yeah, the Chariot reverse. I mean, none of them are super fun reverse, but I feel like this one is even more apparent conflict, right? Like it manifests in very destructive and unhealthy ways, either towards yourself or other people. I could see someone like this having like anger issues, right? Like that lack of self-control that you mentioned, you know, and like when maybe the masculine energy is being dominant, that sort of aggressive behavior, or maybe the feminine energy is in this unhealthy vibe. And so like withdrawing or self-harm even, you know, I could see it turning pretty ugly with this card.
Yep. And in terms of like, this is one of the major arcanas. This is what I've learned anyways. I don't know if anyone listening will agree or if you'll agree. It's one of them that can actually symbolize like a physical object, like a car or a vehicle. And so reverse, we could have a car crash, or we could have an accident, whether that's a literal or metaphorical or spiritual or energetic accident. Seen it for like a lot of power control issues. But yeah, anger, that's a good one, because think about it, when we can't control our emotions, often it is projected out in anger.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like the Chariot, out of all the major arcanas, feels like it has the most practical understanding. Whereas, like, you know, some of the earlier cards are a little bit more abstract. This one to me feels, I can see how this can come about in real life.
Yeah, I actually agree. I never thought of it like that. I never considered that, but you're right. Some of the other cards, they're so, yeah, abstract's the best word. They're so abstract, and they're hard to give people applicable, you know, like this is what to do. This is a lot easier, right? Because we have the masculine and feminine, we have the emotions, we have, it's a bit more cut and dry. Yeah, it's definitely not one of my challenging cards, I wouldn't say. We all have those challenging ones.
And this is why I really like it when this comes up, because I'm like, thank you, Spirit. You are being so clear right now, and I appreciate that.
Yep. So, I mean, and it's funny, whether the cards are reversed or upright, the lesson kind of remains the same. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think I forget what I said just a minute ago about this karmic lesson, but really it's about developing a foundation, mastery of self, recognize emotions as they fluctuate, and still being able to stay centered within that. So reversed or otherwise or upright, I mean, that lesson's the same. It's just is letting us know what happens if we're not able to do that.
Right. And maybe where that person is, like, you got this, keep doing what you're doing, or something's got to change. What you're doing right now is not working, or what you're doing right now is going to lead to a really uncomfortable situation. You're not going to win this. Yeah. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
Arcana too. I mean, this isn't like, you're running into a tough time and like here's just this little thing that you can change. Like, I feel like this is probably like a pattern of behavior, right? This isn't kind of a situational sort of thing. So like if this comes up, the message is even louder and clearer for me. Like, no, you keep kind of getting stuck or in your own way because of this belief about yourself that, I don't know, maybe I'm unworthy. Like I can't do this for some reason. Like stability's threatening for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, or just your ego is out of control, you know. Often when I've clarified the Chariot, I've often got the moon on it, which is emotion, and a Cancer energy, which is the Chariot. Or I'll get like the 5 of Wands, which is that, right? And they're very similar. So with that kind of challenge, right? 5s are challenging, but I don't want to get into the suits yet. But yeah, okay. So anything else on the Chariot? Do you think we covered kind of the basics?
I think we covered the basics. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you could probably talk more about Cancer, like, and how it relates to this card, because for me, Cancers, and again, you're the astrologer, but like for me, Cancers, like it's very much this like nurturing energy. Like I almost can imagine higher vibrational Empress matching that more than say the Chariot, but also if lower vibrational Cancer might look like the Chariot reversed.
Ooh, I like it. I like what you're thinking. So yeah, I agree. So think about it. In astrology, Cancer is ruled by not ruled by, but is symbolized by the crab. Crabs are hard on the outside and will pinch you, but they're soft and mushy on the inside. And so that's kind of this energy, right? As an energy, this person can come off very like headstrong and kind of that macho kind of toxic masculinity energy, right? But within them, they're just heaps of emotion, and they're just not channeling them properly. Again, there's that imbalance with the masculine and the feminine. And then lower frequency of Cancer is moody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Moody. I don't actually know too many Cancers. I've heard of a few.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I finally just like connected Cancer with the Chariot. Like I could see the lower vibrational and reverse Chariot, but now that like, because with Cancer, nurturing, protective, um intuitive, definitely that emotional sphere. And for me, I didn't really see that so clearly until now with like the Chariot upright. But yeah, 7, internal mastery, self mastery, emotional mastery,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing yourself, right? We can never like fully put ourselves into the world and have a clear head and plan until we've, really watered our own garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get that now. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Like it feels like I have even more to like think about with it.
I know. This is why I love talking about the cards, because the learning never stops. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
constant more learning. And like you said, the lower vibration of Cancer and with the Chariot reverse is you're going to get snipped by one of those claws, right? Projection, right? Or aggression.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Love it. Thank you, Chariot. I do like this card. I feel like it just has a lot to say.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Okay, so that's the Chariot in the snippet. So I'm really excited to talk about strength. I love strength.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of those cards that is not so black and white.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you start?
Okay, yeah. So for me, strength, 8. 8s are one of my favorite numbers. I think they're kind of tough,
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, but 8 is just so expansive to me. Like there's just so many possibilities. 8 on its side is the infinity symbol, which to me is just beautiful because there's never an end, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's always something different we can explore and achieve. But also 8s too, we see it manifest more in the world in a practical, tangible ways compared to like the 7,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so with strength card, right, there's this intuitive feminine energy. Sorry, let me show mine. I love
Yeah, I want
this.
to see it. Oh yeah, okay. So the lion. I love the symbolism of the lion.
Oh, you have a beautiful feminine too there.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
Oh, I know. So courage, vitality, intuitive strength, like it's not that toxic masculinity where I get something by brute force. That's not what strength is.
No, not at all.
Is a calm, confident energy.
You took the word right out of my mouth. So yeah, when I didn't actually write notes for, I guess I forgot, but so strength to me, yeah, I think of confidence, courage, and like a gentle strength, like you said. And
Mm-hmm.
I love the symbolism in this because this woman, like also Leo energy, we're seeing the
Mm-hmm.
strength. So this woman has got her head held high in my deck, in the Gilded,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not even looking at this lion. She's got him on a leash, and I mean, he could eat her, he could take her out, but she just trusts that he's going to behave. She's got that confidence in him and within herself to
Yeah.
tame him. Yeah, I guess taming. It's very like lusty too. I've seen strength come up when you have to. I've seen it in love readings when someone is resisting temptation,
Mm-hmm.
because that takes a lot to resist temptation, whether it's a person or a piece of cake or whatever it is. Yeah, what are your thoughts on like how she's holding the lion?
So in mine, she doesn't even have a leash. She
Oh
doesn't.
snap! She's
She
just
don't.
like yeah.
And my lion's in a very submissive position.
Oh, she owns that lion. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's even like the facial expression is it's comfortable. Like it doesn't need to be this loud, angry, roaring lion. There's like a safety and vulnerability, which is where I'm hearing that feminine energy come in it.
Very feminine. And that's the funny thing. When people think of strength, they think of masculine, and
Mm-hmm.
the feminine. Yeah. So yeah, I just tied that two together. That's really fascinating that we look at strength as feminine. Because yeah, when I look at this card, it screams femininity.
Yes. Like I want to be this woman right now.
I've seen her show up for people, or like if someone views you like this, you just have a presence.
Yeah.
Like you walk in a room and they respect you, but in a different way than the emperor. If you were the emperor, they would respect you and maybe be a bit intimidated by you. This, they would be in awe of you. Like, I don't know how she does it. She's just got this grace. That's a good word. I actually think of like Beauty and the Beast when I look at this card.
Oh, I could see that.
Beast, where this wild beast, you know, this gentle, small little woman was able to tame him and subdue him ultimately. And without force, right? Yeah. Without force. So when, like, has this ever come up in your readings as like advice, or like, I know I'm like that and I like remember readings, but like, do you have any messages in strength or like karmic lessons that you can share?
Yes. So for me, strength is about, so I feel like in 7-2 Chariot, like we're learning to trust our intuition, the mastery. We don't need to practice that anymore. It's already there. That it's self-acceptance.
Yes, I like that connection. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, because in the Chariot, we're trying to control it. And now we're like, we got a lion. We're cool. Like,
there's no leash, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Self-acceptance. It's so interesting. Like when we stop trying so hard and just like let go a little bit of control and just trust in whatever the process might be. You know, maybe it's a spiritual sort of faith, but it's about having faith, I feel like, and trust in knowing that you have everything you need in this moment, and you just need to move forward with courage and bravery, and accept that vulnerability. Even if you were to make a mistake or fail, it really doesn't have the same power over you as you used to think it did.
Yeah, I love it. And I want to read what Roberta Lee says, but I was reminded of something I read on that tarot forum where I still learn to this day, where someone said something along the lines of, you know, people underestimate this woman's ability in the card. And I'm speaking in as gender, but it's not gender specific. It could be a man, but we'll just speak as it's a woman in the card. But that it's not that she can't use like aggressive strength. She can, but she knows when to use that strength and when to pull back. She knows how to balance those two, again, because she learned in the Chariot, right? How to balance those. Like she knows boundaries. She knows when to kind of, I don't know if I'm explaining myself well. She just knows when she needs to exert herself a bit more and when she needs to step back. But
it feels decisive.
Yeah, she's very just confident. She knows how to get what she wants, but it's not in a manipulative way. It's in a very compassionate way, because Roberta Lee uses some words. So she says compassion, self-control, empathy, self-awareness, which again is a really big one too, because you have to be aware to know how are you using your power in your inner strength. And self-controlled, strong. Yeah. So Roberta Lee says, true strength always starts within, and this card shows the power of love and compassion, including self-awareness and a realistic acceptance of one's own failings to make improvements in one's life.
Yes, right. So like that's what I was saying earlier with like the quotes of I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. Just this thing didn't work out. So we can step back, lick our wounds, right? The lie in there, and figure out what we need to do differently moving forward. And it's not like this, I hate to say pity, but it's not this place where we're just ruminating over, you know, how terrible of a person we are. That's not what strength is. She's already learned the lessons of the previous cards of trusting herself, her intuition, that certain pathways or roads aren't appropriate or healthy for her, and she doesn't need to reflect or think about that anymore. She just knows, oh, that didn't work out, moving on. Like it doesn't undervalue her.
No, exactly. And I think that's where, like, I think of boundaries too. And I've also seen this card come up when someone needs inner strength.
Some boundaries, and strength.
Yeah, like when maybe some challenges are coming up ahead, but it also shows me that they have it. And I've seen it also come up, in relationships where someone feels like they need to control. And it kind of reminds you to kind of use your compassion and empathy to get what you want versus, the aggressive Chariot in reverse energy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. Okay, so kind of on that same vein then, like, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit with the reversal, but so could that be seen as manipulative? I wonder, like, if it's coming from an insecure place, like really my focus is on control, not cooperation. So I'm going to manipulate my feminine powers of sexual energy or demure femininity. Like, would that ever be something that come up for you?
I would look to the surrounding cards.
Yeah.
Like, do we have the devil? Do we have the magician reverse? Yeah. Like, what do we have? I've seen it come up when someone was using a lot of restraint, I guess is the word, to avoid a sexual temptation.
Okay.
And that's not bad, good. I mean, it could be good if the person's committed. It could be not. Yeah. And sometimes we have to, right? So an example that was used in the forum was like a boss likes their subordinate. Like, you have to restrain yourself. You can't, right? So they're exerting strength to not get eaten by the lion, let's just say.
Yeah, right. So self-preservation too, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that this is healthy for me to hold back, and then when it's healthy to assert. Is that what you're saying there? Because I heard that the other day.
Yeah, I think
so. Well, and like how you're saying too with like boundaries though, a lot of times everyone's always thinking boundaries with others. This sounds like boundaries of ourselves, within ourselves.
Yes, that inner self-control, 100%. Yeah. So let me read. This person was asking about strength as a woman, like if this showed up to represent a woman.
Someone,
And 13, I love 13. I don't know who 13 is, but they're
your person.
Their knowledge. Yeah. So the rider Waite strength is a quietly determined lady. She is confident either in herself or some other faith she holds or someone else. She might have faith in the lion, for example, even if the lion has no faith in himself. Yes, she is strong and brave, but in a serene way. Hers is a form of fortitude, like that of a pioneering woman who, after the tornado blows down the house, quietly starts cleaning things up. She doesn't fall apart in the face of problems. She faces them and does what she can, confident that she can get herself and everyone else through this. And so in that other deck, the Toth, I think it's Toth, the Crowley one they're talking about, is a woman who has the strength to master and control her passions and their power, but is not afraid of letting them take her where they will, of surrender and control in order to reach new heights. I love the way she admitted that, but I love strength. There's something really just beautiful about the energy and attractive. Something attractive about that. Like, we all know those people who walk in the room and they're like, I'm the best, and it's not attractive. And she walks in the room, or he, and they just have a way. But I don't think it's manipulative unless there's other cards
around it
that might say that. But I don't even think
strength in a manipulative way.
But I don't even think strength would come out. I think something else would come out.
Something else would, yeah.
Just because it's at least the way I look at strength, right? I've also seen it come out in like health readings when someone's healing. It can be a sign of a lot of inner healing. Anything else with strength? Oh, I guess what's the karmic lesson? I think some people would debate this. A lot of people say like compassion and empathy. But what are your thoughts if you had to describe a lesson?
So we just came from self-mastery. So, and we've talked a lot about too, internal boundaries, which requires that heightened self-awareness, that requires emotional regulation, right? Like with her, I just feel like we've already done all that work. We're not still in that place. Like,
what about confidence?
Yeah, like it's just like action. What's the karmic lesson here? Like it's kind of like truth speaking too, but it doesn't feel like a loud truth speaking. She just is.
Yeah, it's not action oriented. Yeah, I see what you mean. I feel like maybe a lesson with strength is to know your own strength. Maybe.
Oh, I like that. That's a beautiful
right,
one.
right.
Great. Very very good.
Because you need self-awareness, you need compassion, and you need empathy for all those things. And the Chariot is more about just getting everything in control.
Yeah,
and then now strength is saying, own it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like there's a little bit more action within strength than the Chariot. Like I do feel like she is like I do feel like there's like, okay, for example, the pioneering woman example, right? So yeah, something pretty detrimental just happened. Tornado comes in, wipes away the entire house. She's not spending all that time crying about the losses or blaming herself.
No.
She's just, okay, this is what needs to get done and it's okay and we're going to do it. So in that way there is action. We are moving
right.
Forward, yeah. Right. In that way. So I do see a little bit more action with her than like,
yeah, that's interesting.
It's manifesting in the real world in a tangible way. Like, what does this look like? You were talking about the person who walks into the room and everyone's kind of interested in wanting to get to know them, or you start a conversation with this person and it just feels really natural and easy. Like you don't feel like you have to sort of filter or make yourself out to be someone else because they're just so confident in who they are.
Right. And I mean, think about it. If you need to have strength, you don't usually just sit there and stare at a wall. You have to keep moving, right?
Yeah.
It's not like be strong, stay still. Like,
right.
Like usually we got to keep moving on with life. Like in that, depiction of, tornado hit, we got to keep moving. And I liked how 13 also explained, she has faith in something.
Yeah.
Right. Like even that line, who might not have faith in himself. And so because of her confidence, I feel, I don't know if this has anything to do with tarot, maybe it's just an intuitive thing, but that she can instill confidence in other people because just
absolutely a good model. A good model for that. What does that look like? Maybe where do you need strength in your life? I mean, I would think that might be a question depending on like the placement of the spread too, and what the person's overall thoughts or question is. But like, where do you need strength in your life? Where do you need to assert strength? Or in like maybe let's say like in the Celtic or Celtic
Celtic, I think.
I know there's a position that talks about external influences. And so if strength comes up, who do you know in your life that exhibits these characteristics, and like how can you model yourself after them? So like thinking about, I love this card. I think you're right.
I do too. It's probably one of my favorites.
Warm card.
Yeah, I love strength. And I've seen, so in terms of readings that I've done, I do, like I said, I do a lot of love readings. I've actually seen strength come up. I don't know about more in reversal, or not. I don't want to say negative, but more in terms of needing to harness some inner strength. But I've seen it a lot to represent a person and reining in temptations, using a lot of inner strength to push through maybe a difficult relationship, a difficult time in a relationship, a difficult person. Even like with addictions, and addictions can be substances or people, right? So using your strength to stay away from that person. I've seen that come up a lot. And then I don't really do health readings, but I associate strength upright as healing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty clear to me. But the optimism part, like having that faith, I mean, having faith in something is sort of knowing that it will work out in the end, and that presents some level of optimism, not necessarily like this Pollyanna vibe where like I'm going into
not at all
work out. No,
I don't see. I wouldn't use the word optimism. I would think of like the Fool maybe as a Pollyanna energy, right? Like
right. No, and but I still see like having faith in something as
I think it's just trust,
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
when
this.
trust is being vulnerable.
True. Yeah. Yeah, I
So
love strength.
me too. I'm into it.
So I think that goes, I think we're good for upright. So strength reverse.
Do we have to?
It's the heavier one in reverse, I have to say. You want to go
Yeah.
first?
Honestly, I feel like we've already touched on a lot. I really do think the lesson is the same. Um, kind of self-doubt. Um, I do see strength as a feminine energy. So again, when it's reversed, I'm thinking maybe lower vibrational. That's why I brought up that manipulation piece, because you can sometimes see lower vibrational feminine energy can be a little toxic, manipulative,
Oh yeah.
using the feminine, I don't want to say strengths, but the sexual piece, or kind of being underhanded to get what you want.
Yeah.
That's not coming from a place of strength. That's coming from insecurity. You're for whatever reason, maybe shame. You don't feel comfortable enough showing your true self, and like being able to handle rejection. Like there's just insecurity for me in there.
Oh, major. So when I think of strength in reverse, I think of, I don't like to use the word weakness, but that's kind of the energy I'm sensing. Something is,
Or something.
sorry, say that again.
Sorry to interrupt. Helplessness.
Yeah, helplessness, feeling like, I've actually seen this come up in love readings when someone is so stressed from a toxic relationship that is impacting their health. Like they're not sleeping, they're like consumed by this person.
Yeah.
They've lost their inner strength. They're trying to, like, the line is taken off. They're trying to pull them back, right? They can't. Yeah. What is Roberta Lee says in reverse: selfishness, possessiveness, no self-control. So kind of similar to the Chariot. Yeah. Depression even. And yeah, like a lack of empathy for others causes emotional fireworks. A relationship based off mutual weaknesses, an attraction that has fear at its core, and like codependency.
Yeah.
I can see that with strength in reverse.
That's what I see too. Like the base of it all is fear, insecurity, like making choices or decisions or acting in certain ways that are really just trying to protect things that we don't feel super confident about, right? So afraid to be vulnerable. So we might withdraw completely, or we might act out extremely aggressively, or maybe backhanded ways, manipulation, because we can't just show up fully as ourselves.
Well, we don't have, like you said, like the opposite of confidence is like, yeah, like I fear everything. I have no confidence. I have no inner strength. And so to get my needs met, I have to try really hard. And that might look like controlling a person. So with strength upright, she knows her partner is going to go to the bar and come home to her that night. If we're looking at another person, they might call 50,000 times. What are you doing? Who are you with? When are you coming home? Why aren't you home? Like that kind of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they just, I could also even see it in, I mean, codependent relationships, but also abusive relationships, manipulative, like you said, I think, controlling.
You know what also just kind of popped in my mind, because I always try to respect the connection between astrology and the card, and for me, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking Leo. What is Leo like? Likes attention, right?
Yep.
And so, and then looking at the card, the woman isn't looking at the lion, so she's not giving him attention, but she is touching him. So letting her presence be known, but it's not this like urgent, you have to look at me all the time energy. So I know it's loved and wanted, kind of this needy sort of lower vibrational Leo energy. And if Leo doesn't get what they want, they might.
Leo can be, I think all the fire sign, I mean, any sign, but a lot of the fire signs in their lower vibration are very narcissistic and, temper tantrums, arrogance, anger, I'm trying to think of some other good words. And yeah, like upright Leo or higher expression of Leo likes to be center of attention, but they also love to give others attention. They love to compliment, they notice other people's, that's the higher expression of Leo. The lower expression is, well, if someone else looks good, then no one else can.
Look bad.
Right. I look bad, or there's not enough energy for us all to look good and to all have talent, or to all have, they're making more money than me. That means I can't make that money, right? They look at it as competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, in reverse, for me, in terms of readings, it's come when someone is consumed by a situation that is just not healthy for them.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's taking over their life in whatever way that may mean. Like maybe they're like I said, they're not sleeping, they're not eating properly, getting fast food. Like they're just, I've seen it come up for that.
Boozing it up.
Or when they kind of go into like fear mode and they're just desperate to get this person back. But as we've learned, upright, she's highly attractive. So in reverse, not very attractive.
Yeah.
So exactly what you're trying to get, you're pushing away.
You said when we first started talking about strength that you felt like, and maybe like in comparison to the Chariot, it's not as practical, but I think I would love it if when strength came up in a deck, because I feel like it would provide a lot of context and clarity within more kind of abstract concepts. Like it feels very anchoring to understand, like there's some kind of insecurity and fear there where is this and how is it manifesting in your life? Like what are you doing or responding, and how are you responding to this fear in this way if it's reverse, obviously.
Right.
So I like it. For me, it feels like a more concrete card.
Yeah, I love strength
too. Not the Hierophant, but oh my gosh,
the Lovers,
number 2.
Oh, High Priestess.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that she's confusing. But of course, she's like not in this world. She's in, spiritual la la land. But yeah,
it feels very much within this world.
Yeah, strength is a good one, but I'm trying to think of like, strength has come up when like in a career reading, or if someone's waiting for a job, when you have to be patient. I don't know if we mentioned patience with strength. Did we? Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you have to be patient, because think about it. You have to be patient to sometimes get what you want. And if you are going to tame this lion, you're going to have to be patient, because they're going to fight. Yeah. And I always say, this sounds so woo, but the biggest lion you'll ever have to tame is the one within.
Oh, yeah.
I had to.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? This is about your journey. It's not about what your boyfriend is going to do or your best friend is going to do. It's about you and your own personal. So yeah, that's not woo woo.
I love
it. It's right on target.
I love it. So let me see what else. Strength. Let me see if Roberta said anything interesting.
I love that we're doing this, because I am learning. It's just connecting even more to me, the story of the major arcana and the purpose of our self-development and the direction and the different steps that we must take before we go kind of to the next level. Like, so strength, and the next one is Hermit, and then Wheel of Fortune, all about change.
Yeah.
Even coming back further still and recognizing our inner strength and wisdom now. We've mastered emotions. Now what's next? The Hermit.
Yeah. No, I do too. I'm learning so much, and that's what I love. I love about like astrology and tarot. Like the learning is endless. So Roberta says about strength in reverse, like for example, if it came out in an outcome position, again, context and all that, that strength tells us that the present situation is headed toward a failure that will directly result from a lack of self-esteem, a failure to set reasonable limits, and the behavior it causes. Depression, negative thoughts, and lack of self-love create difficulties for the seeker and undermine their efforts. Advise the seeker that they could be their own worst enemy in this situation, and that their emotions regarding it may be preventing them from making wise choices now. If possible, they would be better off postponing any serious decisions, avoiding conflicts and confrontations. They need to feel emotionally stronger before tackling this matter head on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I know it's not linear, but for teaching purposes, if we're struggling with strength, we got to go back to the Chariot. We got to like masculine, feminine. We got to check in with our emotions.
I would even say going back to the Lovers, because we're still stuck in this instant gratification. I need this right now, so I'm going to make this healthy long-term decision.
Yeah, true. Well, I love strength. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, one more thing actually. Okay. So I feel like strength is the first time in like we're entering a new phase of the major arcana. How many cards are there? 22. And there's 20.
Yeah. So if you want to count, yeah, you're right.
22. But 22. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is like I also like break down the major arcana into different like phases. Like 1 through 7 is like you're learning this lesson about trusting yourself and managing your emotions and trusting your intuition and like getting really clear about what you want and how to get it. Now here we are, strength. I feel like okay, we've really experienced a lot in this journey, and now we are taking the next baby steps to assert ourselves and feel good about it. Like it feels like okay, the next wave of lessons is coming.
I like that. And that actually kind of reminds me of like astrology in the houses. I'm not going to get into that, but where there are like phases that are more inner, and then you're like putting yourself out there in the world with all that you've learned so far. So yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Strength feels exciting that way. Ooh, I get to practice what I learned.
Yeah, like if I show up with strength, I'm going to be like, sweet, like I got this. Right?
Yeah.
All righty.
Okay, well, so next week is the Hermits
and the Wheel of Fortune. Yep.
9 and 10. Very exciting. Well, thank you all for stopping by. Check us out on Teen Tarot on Instagram. And of course, Angeli, what's your website for reading?
Yeah, people can find me. I'll put it in the description box below, but heartandsoulholisticservices.com.
Awesome. And Felicia at healthcoachfelicia.com. Find me out. Okay.